When people imagine their first online business, they often imagine the finished version: a professional website, a mobile application, automated payments, customer dashboards, AI features, marketing systems, hundreds of customers, maybe even a global audience. And because the finished version looks enormous, the starting point feels impossible. But there is a problem with starting from the vision of the finished machine. You can spend months building something before discovering whether anyone actually wants it. The smarter question may be much smaller. What is the simplest version of this idea that could create real value for one real customer?
More features can make a product look more sophisticated, but sophistication is not the same as usefulness. A business can spend enormous amounts of time building features that customers never requested. Every feature adds development, testing, maintenance, support, and complexity has a cost. The objective in the early stage is not to build the most impressive product possible. It is to discover whether the core value actually matters to someone.
A useful starting point is not technology. It is the problem. What frustrates people? What takes too much time? What is unnecessarily expensive? What is difficult to understand? What process is still being handled manually? What do people repeatedly search for? Problems create opportunities because people already have a reason to seek a solution. Technology becomes more powerful when it is attached to a problem that actually matters.
The next step is narrowing the audience. Beginners often want to build something for everyone, but when you try to solve everyone's problems, the solution can become vague. A more focused approach is to identify one type of customer, maybe independent professionals, maybe small businesses, maybe property owners, maybe students, maybe creators. The exact audience depends on the opportunity. What matters is clarity. When you know who you are building for, decisions become easier because you can evaluate the system from the customer's perspective.
This is where the idea of a minimum viable product becomes useful. The concept is simple. Instead of building everything you eventually want, build the smallest version that can deliver the core value. If the business idea is a marketplace, perhaps the first version only needs buyers, sellers, listings, and a way to connect them. If it is a service platform, perhaps the first version only needs a customer, a provider, and a way to complete the service. The exact features depend on the business. The principle remains the same. Solve the essential problem before expanding the machine. This is also where existing software can become useful. If the basic infrastructure already exists, you may not need to develop every component from zero. A suitable software product can potentially provide functionality that would otherwise require significant development time. But the decision should still begin with the business problem. Do not search for software first and then invent a business around whatever you find. Start with the problem, define the required system, then look for technology that can help you build it. Once the first version exists, the next job is not automatically expansion. It is observation. Do people understand the product? Do they use it? Where do they stop? What do they ask for? What problems appear? Most importantly, are they willing to exchange something of value for the solution? Feedback from real users can reveal information that assumptions cannot. Sometimes the result confirms the idea. Sometimes it exposes weaknesses. And sometimes it reveals an entirely different opportunity hiding inside the original concept.
Attention is useful. Traffic is useful. Likes can be useful.
But revenue provides a different kind of signal. It shows that someone considers the value of the solution worth exchanging something for. That does not mean every early experiment must immediately become profitable. Some ideas require time to develop, but eventually a business needs an economic engine. Understanding how value becomes revenue is part of understanding the business itself. Growth should ideally follow evidence. When more customers arrive, infrastructure may need to expand. When repetitive tasks increase, automation may become useful. When customers request new capabilities, additional software or development may make sense. When operations become more complicated, processes need to evolve. This creates a very different growth pattern. Instead of building a huge system and hoping customers appear, you allow demand to influence the architecture. The business grows and the system grows with it.
There is another advantage to starting small. Simplicity makes mistakes cheaper. A small system is easier to understand, easier to change, easier to test, easier to maintain, and often easier to explain to customers. This does not mean simple businesses are automatically better. It means that complexity should have a reason to exist. Every additional system creates another dependency. Every additional feature creates another responsibility. Early on, unnecessary complexity can consume resources that would be better spent learning.
Starting small does not mean thinking small. A simple first version can become the foundation for something much larger. The important distinction is between the size of your starting system and the size of your long-term vision. You can begin with one customer, one service, one product, or one narrow market. If the model works, the architecture can evolve. New features can be added. New customers can be served. New markets can open. What begins as a small experiment can eventually become a sophisticated digital business. Your first online business does not need to look like a giant technology company. It does not need hundreds of features. It does not need a massive team. And it does not need to be perfect before anyone sees it. Start with a real problem. Focus on a specific customer. Build the smallest useful solution. Use existing tools where they make sense. Test it with real people. Learn from what happens. Then expand when the evidence tells you to expand. Because the objective is not to build the biggest system on day one. The objective is to build something useful enough that people want it to exist. And from that small beginning, a much larger architecture can grow. This is NEXNET, Decoding Systems, Architecting the Future.